In this segment of the video series in taking the NKBA Certified Kitchen and Bath Exam, we're going to take a look at the secondary wall, laying out the cabinets, fixtures, appliances, and going through and dimensioning it. Let me go into the floor plan and let's get started. I'm going to work in a split screen view with the floor plan and the wall elevation. You can get this view underneath the window tool and tile vertically. You can also press Shift F6 on your keyboard. Using the full height cabinet, I'm going to create a cabinet for a pantry off to the right hand side. I'm going to resize this to be a 48-inch cabinet. We'll just pull that out to be 48 inches. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. I'm going to change the label of this to be a pantry 48. We'll just type that in. Again, I'm going to use the insert object width 48. If I decide to resize it, it will then update that label. I'm now going to use the base cabinet and create a custom desk. Let's grab our base cabinet tool, click in here, and I'm going to zoom in and make this, to begin with, just 12 inches in width. Open the cabinet up and let's make a few changes here. First of all, on the height of the cabinet, I'm going to set it to be 30 inches. On the face item, I'm going to select this face item. I'm going to change it to be a drawer, and then I'm going to split that horizontally. And then if you need to make adjustments on the face items, you can do that right here. Now I'm going to create a copy of that cabinet using the copy tool for the second part of the desk. I'm going to resize that to be 36 inches or so. Now let's go ahead and open that up, and in this case I'm going to go ahead and delete the bottom two face items. Press delete, and I'm going to change that face item on the main drawer to be 5 inches. I'm going to remove the toe kick, click on the toe kick, set it to be 0, and then on the general tab I'm going to set the height of this cabinet to be 8 inches in height, and then our floor to top I'm going to set that to be 30 inches so it's exact. This is a very shallow cabinet to create that custom desk, and I've actually determined that this actually needs to be a 32-inch cabinet. Notice that it's snapping in 3-inch increments. If I open up this cabinet, you can override that in your defaults. I'm going to just open up the cabinet, and on the width I'm going to type in 32 for the width, and then I'll just snap that back into place. The next base cabinet will be used maybe for a small wine rack. It's going to be a very small cabinet. I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to make it a 9-inch cabinet. We'll just slide it in to be 9 inches. Double click on it. On the face items, I'm just simply going to hit the delete key. I've got 3 shelves. If you need to specify the shelves, you can come down here and use the specify and define how many shelves you want. Again, if you wanted to go into the label, you could specify what that cabinet is if there's a specific name for it. Next will be a wine fridge and a regular refrigerator. I'm going to skip over those and move to the base cabinets on the other side of the wall. Zoom out here just a little bit. Next, using the base cabinet, I'm going to click next to the corner cabinet, place our base cabinet over there. I'm going to resize this one to a 15-inch cabinet. If you want to change the face items on it, you just click on them and change the face items. I'm going to leave this as a standard cabinet. And then rather than having my cook range and my refrigerator right together, I'm going to put another cabinet in here for the cook range. Using the base cabinet tool, I'm going to click and place a 36-inch cabinet. Let's slide that over, make sure I have enough room. And I'm going to broaden this to be a 36-inch cabinet. Notice when it gets over 24 or 27 inches, it becomes an automatic double door. That's the face item type called auto door. With that being 36 inches, I'm going to bump this back over, and let's make modifications to this cabinet for the cook range. Open it up. To modify this cabinet for accessibility on the cook range, I'm going to click on the face item, and I'm going to click delete for the double doors. I'm going to click delete on the toe kick, and I'm going to also click delete on the opening. So I have one gigantic door on this. Sorry, it's a drawer. Let's change that to a blank area. On the general tab, let's come in here, set the height of this cabinet to be 9 inches, and on the floor to top we're going to set it at 36. Again, this is a little bit higher for an accessibility, but again the client is larger. This will match the top of the sink. And the final thing I'm going to do is on the label I'm just going to put it as a cooktop, and we should be able to close that and get a preview update for that cooktop range. Next will be a couple of partitions, our refrigerator and the wine fridge. Before I place the partition, let's zoom in. Notice that I have an overhang on this cabinet. When you have something next to a refrigerator, you can simply come in here on the general panel, click flat sides, and that will square it off. So I'm going to go ahead and click the sides and back for flat sides. You can see that trim off. Using the partition tool, I'm going to go ahead and place a partition that will then border the refrigerator. I'm going to use a partition as opposed to a filler. Come in here. I'm going to make sure that the dimension of this is set properly. First of all, I want it to be 3/4 in width and then we'll set the height at 90 inches, and then the depth we'll set at 24 inches. Go ahead and close that, and I'm going to snap it to the side of the cabinet, zoom out a little bit. I'm going to use the copy tool, and I'm just going to pull a copy out off to the side of that partition, and then I can easily find my refrigerator and place it into this space. As I browse into the library, underneath the core catalog, appliances, standard size, there's a variety of different refrigerators you can find depending on the style the exam calls for, maybe a side-by-side or maybe just a standard refrigerator. I'm going to grab one of those and I'm just simply going to place it in the design. There may be specs if the client is bringing in their refrigerator. I'm going to go ahead and put in the specs for this at 72 by 35 and then set the depth of it to be 29. Any other information, if you want to reverse the symbol, in this case I want to pull the handle on the other side, I can click the reverse symbol and set that up. Once I've got it defined, I'm going to bump it over to the partition. I'm going to grab the other partition and snap it over. Sometimes you have to press the tab key or zoom in to grab those. And now I have the partitions organized. Next is to find our wine cabinet or wine refrigerator. Again, back into the library. Just below the refrigerators is under counter. I'm going to find a wine cellar. Again, place that wine cellar. Hopefully I have enough room in here. Go ahead and click that. I'm going to bump it over. Actually, let's slide it this way. Open it up and set the dimensions of it. First of all, it's an under counter height, so I'm going to set it to be 34.5 inches by 24, and on the depth of it, we'll leave that. Again, if you want to reverse the symbol, in this case, I'll go ahead and click OK to flip that handle over to the other side. And now I'm going to go back into the plan view and take a look at the way this is organizing out. Let's just toggle back into the plan view. Let's go ahead and change our wall elevation camera. Our main wall elevation, we set it to be an A. I'm going to open that camera up. I'm going to come to the plan display, and I'm just going to type a B in here, close that. And I notice that the refrigerator doesn't have a label on it and the wine cellar does. Let's go ahead and select the wine cellar, open it up, and see where that label is. Let's go to the label panel and let's see what it says. Specify label, wine cellar. Let's go ahead and remove that. See if it gets rid of it. It may not because it's a symbol. Let's close that. Notice it's still there. Let's go ahead and use this tool down here. Open symbol. It's also in the symbol name. Let's go ahead and remove it. See if this gets rid of it. Select OK. And it still doesn't get rid of it. So there's a few options. That's actually built into the 2D CAD block. A very easy way to get rid of it if you are in a hurry and you can't remember this is just to use whiteout. Use a CAD box, make it white, put it right over the top of it. Now that may cause other problems because we're going to want to put a countertop over that. What I can do is open this up, go back into the symbol again. Remember where we removed the label out. I should be able to go in and regenerate a CAD block on the 2D CAD block. Let's go ahead and hit generate. See that it got rid of it over here in this preview? If I select OK, it now removes it. So that's actually built into the CAD block for that particular symbol. You can probably find another, let's see if another one of these has that in there. This is also going to have a refrigerator, so again, if you wanted to go back in and remove that label, go back into the 3D, clear it out on the 2D CAD block. What I can do then is generate the CAD block, update it, and then it will get rid of it. So maybe a tip to remember if you find that situation going on. Now to turn the label on for the fixtures, which I don't have on, let's go back into the cabinet or the mini fridge. Click the open button on the label. Let's go ahead and just type in wine fridge. Go ahead and close that. That layer is not on in this view. Let's turn the layer on for fixture labels. And you see that the refrigerator actually already has a label. Let's open that up, change the abbreviation for it, and then I'm also going to move that out. You have to zoom in until you find the little fourplex, pull it out, because I'm going to have a full height cabinet over there. And you can see that there's a few other fixtures that probably need updating. Let's go ahead and change the sink in here. Let's open that up, go to the label, specify that it is just a sink. It's a long definition. And you can do the same thing on the faucets, which I'll do. And actually what I'll do on that faucet is I'm just going to click suppress label because I probably don't even want to show that label. Now that I've got those labels set appropriately, let's zoom out. Let's turn that layer off because I'm going to actually show that only in my mechanical plan. I'm going to go back in, turn the fixture labels off. On my mechanical plan, I will have those on. A little more cleanup in our plan view. I notice if I zoom in the 3-drawer base, if I click on it, notice that the 3-0 is getting truncated when I click on it and deselect it because of the pantry. I'm going to just come in here, find that fourplex, pull that up a little bit, and on this cabinet that is the desk, let's go ahead and on the label, let's just go ahead and specify that it is a desk. And we'll just leave the rest of the nomenclature off. Zoom back out. Over in the library, I want to place a cooktop inside of our cabinet over here. Let's go over and our appliances, find our cooktops. Maybe that's a standard size cooktop. Let's go down and let's find one that meets the requirements. Sometimes you may have to get creative. Maybe it's just an electric one and you still need to use the gas burner top. It's okay as long as you call it out in your floor plan notes and it matches the 2D description that you can put in there. I'm just going to click on that cabinet, insert it into it, and then finally in the library, let's find our cook hood. So underneath large hoods, I'm going to just grab a flat hood, and I may have to click and place that right in the center over here. And let's just go ahead and resize that. I'm going to double click on it and I'll set the width of it to be, go ahead and set it to be just 36. If you want to change the depth of it, you can do that as well. And use the center key. Just make sure that it's centered exactly on the cooktop below. Back in the elevation view, I'm going to go ahead and pull that cook hood up to the top of the ceiling. And if I open it up, I can specify exactly what the floor to finish bottom is. In this case, let's go ahead and set that to be 62 inches. So we'll lower it a couple of inches. And I'll go ahead and pull that back up to the top. Next, let's use the wall cabinet tool and place a few of our wall cabinets. I'm going to come over to the side. Notice I can't get an indicator here. I may get an indicator somewhere, and it may be easier to place this in the plan view. Let's try it in our plan view if you find that it's somewhat difficult. Using the wall cabinet tool, let's see if I can place a wall cabinet in this view, and I can't seem to do it. So here's what I'm going to do when you run into that situation. Back in the elevation view, let me go ahead and just place it on this side, and let's do these wall cabinets over here. This is a 24-inch cabinet, and let's place one more 24-inch cabinet. Let's flip that door style around, so instead of it being a right door, let's change the face item to a left door. And the difference between an auto and a door left, when I resize it, an auto door at 27 inches will become a double door. So I'm going to just change that to a left door auto. And with this cabinet selected, I'm going to take and copy that, and I'm going to reflect it around the refrigerator so I can get it onto the other side. Sometimes you can place the cabinet. I could have placed it under the cook hood and gotten it into that space, but that's also an easy way to accomplish it. Let's make sure that this cabinet, I want it to be 12 inches in width, and all of the things look okay. I'm going to use that cabinet, copy it, and reflect it around the cook hood or the cook range. And this may be a little bit tight, so I'm going to resize that down 3 inches. Open it up, and I'm going to remove the door off of it. Simply click delete. And again, if you want to specify the shelves, you can click on the opening, specify the shelves in there. This could be used maybe for a spice rack. And then the final wall cabinet that I want to place is right in this area. I'm going to place a wall cabinet in here, and then we'll resize it to fill in the space. And again, this is going to be used maybe for some cookbooks. Again, on the face item, I'm going to click delete. In this case, I am going to change the shelving in here. I'm going to remove it from having 4 shelves. Let's go ahead and set it down to remove one of those shelves. Press the tab key, see the update, and then I just have a couple of shelves in there. Now if you notice my cabinets, one of the things that I did not do was define my default cabinet to have moldings. Now when we created the molding, and you can see it over on the corner cabinet, you can still see the molding on it. You can select all of the cabinets and add molding to it. You'd have to remember what the offset was, what the size of the molding was, and it's very easy to do. There's also a tool called the Object Eyedropper. You can pick up properties of this cabinet. Let's go ahead and click on it. Once you click on it, my icon changes to a spray can. Before I click and place something on another cabinet, I need to define what I want to pick up off of that cabinet. So I'm going to come down in the lower section of my menu, far left-hand corner, and what I want to do is I want to type in molding. And I've just got it partially done, and I'm going to then just select those that are found. So you see that it found the molding material and the moldings. And I'm going to apply that onto the different wall cabinets that I want. Now notice that I didn't spray it onto the full height cabinet or the partitions because there is a light rail on the wall cabinet that I didn't want applied. But that should have worked because typically they wouldn't have a light rail on it. The next thing I want to do before I finish that molding up is I need a cabinet above the refrigerator. Let's go ahead and fill that space. Again, notice the doors become a double door. Let's open up that cabinet. Let's set the depth of it to be 24 inches. Let's go back into our object painter, select the items that we want using our scoping tool. We'll just clear all, type in the word molding or partial word, and we'll select those two items. Select OK. Click on the spray can. Probably don't want a light rail on that, but we can come in and fix that. Click on the full height cabinet. And then I may need to zoom in to get the partitions. Let's see if I can come in here and grab that molding off the partitions here and get that applied on there as well. Sometimes those are finicky and you can lose your moldings. What I'll do sometimes is just pull the cabinet away, rebump it, and I may resize it a little bit to make sure that you have it. Now I want to make sure the refrigerator is centered in the opening. I'm going to select the refrigerator. I'm going to use the center key and I'm going to click on the center of upper wall cabinet, and I have a little bit of space in between that opening for this refrigerator. Notice that I need a countertop over the top of the wine refrigerator. And what I'm going to do in my plan view will be to select the cabinet adjacent to it. There's a tool down in the bottom called Generate a Custom Countertop. That way I don't have to draw my own. Just click that. That will disconnect the countertop from that cabinet. And then I can simply come over here and bump that to the partition and you'll see it generate automatically for you. There's also a custom countertop tool that you can use to draw your own countertops. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the island. Another cleanup item, I want to take this cabinet and reverse the door. On the face item for the door, let's click on the face item. I'm going to change that from a right door to a left door. I need a custom backsplash. I'm going to use the custom backsplash tool. I'm going to click inside of the wall that I want the backsplash on. Again, if you want to pull that down, you can. Click the custom backsplash tool over here, and now I have the backsplash material that I need. To dimension this wall, let's use our automatic NKBA dimensions. Before I click that, verify that you are on the section view set and your annotations are set to the NKBA general. Again, if you have it on one of the other annotations, maybe floor plan or mechanical, your dimensions may look a little crazy. Just delete those or undo that and make sure that you use this. I'm going to use the automatic dimensions. I'm also going to do some manual dimensioning so we get used to that. This places a lot of dimensions. Let's go ahead and begin the cleanup on it. We'll start at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the center line. We're going to assume that the cook hood, you could have the center line for the cook hood, but it's also going to be from the cook range at the bottom. So I'm just going to delete that. And you'll want to verify that that's an accurate thing to do for your plans. I'm just going to kind of speed through this a little bit. Pull this dimension down, 48, 24, 29 as we kind of go through here. Go ahead and select the dimension. It picked up the corner of the box. So let's go ahead and pull that dimension off. And that looks pretty reasonable for the top dimensions. You may want to clean up where the 3/4 are if you want to pull that up above. Again, you can just select the dimension, zoom in, and you can pull that off the fourplex. On the dimension string on the right, there's a lot going on, but possibly all important. Let's zoom in and figure out what we've got here. First of all, when you click on the dimension, you can see the diamond and what it's picking up. So it picked up the crown molding over there. That is important, so I'm just going to pull that dimension over here. The 15 inches, let's zoom out and figure out what that is. So that is the cabinet over here, probably important. 21 inches is going to the bottom of the box and the molding. Let's go ahead and pull that molding out for the light rail. Pull, zoom down. Again, click on the dimension, figure out what we've got going on. We got top of countertop and then the cook range. Let's go ahead and pull the 1/2 inch, 1.5 inches out for the countertop, and then our toe kick. So all of these dimensions seem important that we have on there. Again, if we've cut a section and we don't want to see the cabinet box, I'm going to use our cross box tool. Come into the corner, come out here and click over the top of that box. Sometimes when you get a snap, you may need to hold the control key down, pull it up, and let's go ahead and zoom out, do one more over here. Use the crossbox tool. We'll zoom in to where we want that crossbox to go. And I'll just snap it there, scroll up, and again I just will pull that up to where I want that crossbox. If you're in black and white, you're probably okay. Otherwise you can open these up, match the color to your cabinet box. Click on the color here, use the eyedropper, pick up the color off of the cabinet, and then you can apply that. And I'll just quickly do the same thing to the other CAD box. I could have copied it instead of grabbing the color again, but either one's just about as easy to do. Let's take a look at the bottom dimension line, see what we have going on here. It's picking up the top wall cabinets, so I'm just going to pull those diamonds off of all of the upper wall cabinets that it may have picked up. We'll just pull those off, come in here. It picked up maybe an extra diamond in the corner over here. I'll go ahead and pull that off, and it looks like I missed one on the upper cabinet. Not sure why it's picking those up. 36 inches, 15 inches. We've got our partitions over here. 24 inches, 9 inches. Again, let's select our dimension, see what it's picked up. Up here, we'll just pull these off. 12 inches. Looks like we have an extra dimension here. Let's go ahead and pull that off. And that pretty much cleans it up. Here's our centerline dimension. Let's go ahead and pull that in. Use the center line, pull it up. I'm going to use my crosshairs to align that on the refrigerator as well. Our cook range, if you want to pull that up higher, you can pull that into the object. Make sure our center lines are good. And then also 249.5. Let's zoom out, make sure that that's also even. Come over to this side of the dimension, and let's just go ahead and clean up a lot of this information. Let's go ahead and pull this off the top of the bottom of the desk. I don't necessarily need that. If you want to leave your toe kick on, you're supposed to. I'll leave it on there. And again, we may just want to clean up some of these dimensions. Just pull this over so it's consistent. So a little bit of busy work in here cleaning up these dimensions. Let's pull that out for the countertop. Pull this one out. So we have 2 countertop thicknesses. In fact, let's go ahead and remove one of those. Since we have it dimensioned on the other side, I'm just going to pull that countertop thickness off. And then I need to maybe pull out our dimension over here. Again, click on the extension lines, pull that in, come up here, pull this one in. And then usually I kind of use my crosshairs to line up the dimensions, make sure that they're exactly the same spacing apart. Make sure that those 2 dimensions right in here look good, and we'll zoom back out. I really like to use the automatic dimensions, but once you get used to dimensioning, you may find that it's easier to do it without the automatic dimensions in some cases. Go ahead and delete the bottom dimension line down here, and I want to show you the process that I might go through in creating our manual dimensions. I'm going to draw a marquee around those dimensions that we just created and spent so much time cleaning up, and I'm going to show you the process of how to manually dimension this. I've got a couple of annotation sets that I use to do this. One is the 1E elevation cabinets. And the dimension defaults for this, if I double click on what it's going to locate, is it's only going to pick up cabinet sides, openings, and casings. In this case, I'm going to turn that off, and then I'm also going to turn off the primitive shapes because I drew a CAD box over the top of that cabinet. Once I have that set, I'm just going to use my dimension tool. Again, I'm using that annotation set for that, and I'm just going to drag a dimension line right through the middle of these boxes. Go ahead and select it, pull it down, and it's only picked up those things that I want. Now it looks pretty clean. The only one that I really have to clean up is in this corner cabinet, and we'll just pull that off. You kind of eyeball it. Looks like it picked up everything very nice and cleanly. Now I'm going to change my annotation set to a center line annotation set. Again, let's go back in, change to our center line. Let's see what we've got set up to locate on this condition. Notice the cabinet sides aren't selected. Fixtures for appliances, centers is selected. Primitive shapes and corners, again I drew that CAD box in there, so I'm going to remove those. When we get into doing our dimensioning for electrical, this will be selected for that. But in this case, I just want to get our fixtures and appliances. Again, I'm using the NKBA 2 center lines, using the center line tool. And we come over here, we click and drag right through the different items. Picked up a center line here, picked up a center line here. And when we complete that, it's very easy to get that. We'll pull it down. Again, I'll select the extension line. If you like to pull those up into the fixture, we'll just pull those up into the fixtures. And then I've got that set. Finally, I'm just going to use the end-to-end dimension. You can use either of these really, but I have a one for the wall. Select end-to-end, and as long as you're using really any of those, we'll go end-to-end and pick that up. Make sure that it says 249.5. Pull that down, and then position it. Again, I may need to pull those extensions because depending on how long that center line reach is, I can get it set up. Again, I like to use the automatic dimensions. I use it all the time. Once you get used to dimensioning and you can build your own annotation set with what's turned on and off in your locate, it can be very powerful to do your dimensioning quickly. One final thing on our wall elevation. One final thing in the elevation, I'm going to use my text with arrow tool. I'm going to make a note here that this needs to be a shielded cooktop. So we'll just put in that text here. And then I'm also going to use just the regular text tool with no line, and over here maybe type in the word open. So it's obvious that that is open. You can see the text color is different. The rich text tool that had the leader line on it is controlled by the text itself. the plain text is controlled by the layer. If you open that text up and you go to the layer component, which is found underneath the line style, you can go out and you can simply hit define, change the color by layer, which is one of the advantages of the plain text over the rich text, because you can change that by layer versus opening it up individually. And then if you want to remove the fill out of it, you can simply come in here to the fill style and remove the fill out of it, and then they'll exactly match, and you could set that up as your default if that's the way you like it. So to summarize in this video segment, what we've done is we've created our secondary wall elevation. We went through and placed all of the cabinets, modified the face items to fit the requirements that were in the case study. We placed our fixtures and some of the other appliances that were needed. We did a custom backsplash, and then finally we did our automatic wall dimensions. I went through and showed you how to manually dimension it, added a little bit of text at the end. Typically you wouldn't be sending a second wall elevation out to your layout sheet, but if you did, you could simply come into the file menu and file, send a layout. Again, you'd want to set your scale to be 1/2 inch. You could set it to be 1/2 inch. You set your page number out and then you send it out to layout. Plot lines is what I typically would recommend. That would give you black and white, and then you can go ahead and put it in color. Once you select OK, it will go out to layout sheet, in this case page 5. It gets positioned on your layout sheet. Let's go back to page 4 where our other text callout was. We'll grab the text off of this, Control C on the keyboard, go to page 5, edit, paste, and hold position, put it in the exact same position. Then you can modify the text in this case. And in the callout camera, we called that B. Again, open that up, and then you pretty much have it completed. So you did a little extra credit for your exam. Maybe I'll get it at the top of your class. That concludes the video. Thanks for watching, and we're going to move forward with creating our island and those elevations for the island in the design.